The text came at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, just as I was wrapping up a video call with 23 investors in Tokyo. We were discussing a $400 million acquisition when my phone buzzed. One glance at the screen made my stomach tighten. We're having Thanksgiving at Rosewood Beastro tomorrow at 7 p.m. Family only. Enjoy your TV dinner, Dad. I stared at the message for 5 seconds, muted my microphone, and typed back 2 words, have fun. The investors kept droning on about market projections, but my mind was already 1,000 miles away, locked on Rosewood Beastro, the upscale downtown restaurant where my family had celebrated every milestone for the past 3 years. My college graduation dinner, Dad's retirement, Emma's engagement. Now, apparently, the place where they'd decided I no longer belonged. Miss Carter? A voice from Tokyo snapped me back. Your thoughts on the timeline? I unmuted and delivered a polished answer about due diligence and closing dates, but half my brain was elsewhere, already calculating my next move. When the call ended, I leaned back in my chair, gazing at the Chicago skyline from the 38th floor of Willis Tower. 32 years old, CEO of Carter Hospitality Group, 47 restaurants across 6 states, and yet, my family had just uninvited me from Thanksgiving dinner. The irony was brutal. I picked up my phone. Jessica, I told my assistant, get me everything on Rosewood Beastro, financials, ownership, debts, liens, the works. She hesitated. Is this for an acquisition? Something like that. How fast can you pull it? An hour. While she worked, I scrolled through old messages that explained how this fracture had started. August, I missed Tyler's birthday because I was closing a deal in Seattle. Emma lectured me about priorities. September, I left a cousin's wedding early for an investor call. Dad cornered me in the parking lot and asked when I was going to stop playing businesswoman and settle down. October, Marcus revealed he and his wife were drowning in mortgage payments. His eyes locked on me when he said it. I offered to review their finances, to help them stabilize. He didn't want solutions. He wanted money. We don't need advice, Sophia, he snapped. We need help, the kind with a checkbook. When I refused, he stormed out, muttering with Emma about how success had changed me. Dad stayed behind, shaking his head. You used to care about family. I do care. No, you care about money. That's different. That was 6 weeks ago. Since then, silence. No calls, no dinners, no group chats, until today. When they made it official, I was out. At 4 o'clock sharp, Jessica walked in with a thick folder. Here's everything on Rosewood Beastro. Owners David Chin. Profitable but not huge. Been trying to sell for 6 months. Asking $3 million. Wants to retire to Florida. Any debts? Clean slate. Building included. He's had 2 buyers. Both fell through. I flipped through the papers. The numbers were solid. It was exactly the kind of restaurant Carter Hospitality thrived on. Call Chin, I said. Tell him I'll buy it. Jessica blinked. What kind of offer? Full asking price. Cash. Closing tomorrow morning. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving. I know. By 5:30, Jessica had pulled it off. Chin was on the phone, eager after half a year of failed deals. Miss Carter, his voice was warm. Jessica tells me you want Rosewood Beastro. That's right. $2. $3 million. Full price. Cash. Tomorrow morning. A pause. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving. I'll pay an extra $200,000 for expedited closing. $2. $5 million total. Silence on the line. Then, Miss Carter, may I ask, why the rush? I chose my words carefully. Let's just say I have a personal interest in owning Rosewood Beastro by tomorrow night. Another pause. I'll need to involve my lawyer. Of course, mine will be ready. By 8 p.m. We were gathered in my attorney's office, David Chin, his lawyer, my counsel, and a mountain of paperwork. Chin was a kind man in his 70s, excited about retirement yet clearly curious. Why Rosewood Beastro? He finally asked. You could buy any restaurant in Chicago. It fits my company, and the timing matters. I leaned forward. Tell me, Mr. Chin, have you ever been excluded from something that mattered to you? More times than I can count. How did it feel? Angry? Hurt? Determined to prove them wrong? He nodded. Exactly that. I smiled. Then you understand. Chin returned the smile. I hope Rosewood Beastro serves you well. At 9:23 p.m. The last signature hit the page. By 10 o'clock, the restaurant was mine. Thanksgiving morning, 6 a.m. The kitchen bustled as staff prepped under Chef Antoine Dubosi. His eyes widened when I walked in. Miss Carter. I didn't expect. There's been a change, I interrupted. As of last night, I own Rosewood Beastro. You what? I explained quickly, no jobs lost, no pay cuts, just a new owner. Antoine relaxed, until I added, one detail. Tonight, table 12, set for 8, but only 7 chairs. He frowned but nodded, as you wish. By noon, I had a sign company at the door, triple holiday pay. At 3 o'clock, the polished placard gleamed in the window. Under new management, Carter Hospitality Group. I hired a photographer, too, not for spite, but because history deserved documentation. At 6 p.m., dressed in black silk, I stationed myself at the front. The hostess had gone home. Tonight, I would greet the guests personally. At 7 o'clock sharp, they arrived, my family. Dad in his best suit, Mom in pearls, Emma draped in burgundy couture, Marcus with Sarah and the kids, all glowing with holiday cheer, certain they'd excluded me from their perfect evening. Dad spotted me first. His smile froze. Sophia, what are you doing here? Working, I said lightly. Welcome to Rosewood Beastro. Working? Emma cut in. Sharp. We told you, this is family only. You can't just show up. I didn't. I interrupted. I own the place. The silence spread like wildfire. Diners turned to stare. Marcus recovered first. You're lying. I gestured toward the gleaming new sign. As of last night, I purchased Rosewood Beastro from David Chin. $2.5 million. Cash. Mom's hand flew to her pearls. You bought it? Dad looked at me as if I'd sprouted horns. Why? Because you uninvited me. I thought I'd host my own Thanksgiving. Sarah whispered. But we have a reservation. Yes, I said smoothly. Table 12, party of 7. Follow me. The private room glowed with candles, crystal, and china, 7 chairs around a table that could seat 8. Emma frowned. Where's the last chair? There isn't one, I replied. Family only. Isn't that what you said? They hesitated, unsettled. I motioned to the table. Please, sit. Chef Dubosi has prepared something special. They obeyed. Stiff and silent, I remained standing. Before the meal, a little history. Rosewood Beastro, founded in 1987 by David Chin, a Vietnamese immigrant who built one of Chicago's finest restaurants. Last year's revenue? $1.88 million. Profit margin, 22%. 37 employees, all staying on under my management. Marcus muttered, we get it. You're rich. No need to rub it in. Actually, I said coolly, I do. Because for 6 months you've treated my success like it's shameful. Like building something of my own made me less of a daughter, less of a sister. Mom's voice trembled. That's not true. Isn't it? When's the last time you asked about my work? When's the last time you cared what I've built? Emma snapped. Not all of us can just buy a restaurant on a whim. You're right. Not everyone can. Do you know why I can? They stared. Because 15 years ago, when I was 17, I was washing dishes in a restaurant downtown. I worked every weekend and every summer, learning the business from the ground up. In college, I was a server, a bartender, a line cook. I learned every corner of restaurant life. I circled the table, meeting each pair of eyes. After graduation, I used my savings to buy a food truck. 1 truck. Sandwiches outside office buildings. 18-hour days. 7 days a week. For 2 years, until I could afford a cafe. Marcus muttered, we know your story. Do you? Because none of you have ever asked how one food truck became Carter Hospitality Group, a company worth $200 million. Sarah gasped. You never asked about the ramen dinners, the failed deals, the sleepless nights, or about the employees I mentored, the mistakes that almost sank me, or the tiny victories that kept me going. Dad's voice was quiet. We're proud of you, Sophia. Are you? Because 6 weeks ago, when Marcus asked for help, I offered to sit down and build a budget. What did you say? Marcus shifted. I said we didn't need advice. You said success made me cold and selfish, that I didn't understand real problems. But the truth is, you were embarrassed your little sister had more than you. Antoine arrived with steaming bowls of butternut squash soup. After he left, silence settled thick. Mom finally tried. This is a beautiful restaurant. Yes, I said. David Chin told me family always mattered to him. But he also learned that family isn't just blood. It's the people who celebrate your wins, not resent them. Emma bristled. We don't resent you, don't you? When I bought my penthouse, you called it excessive. When I hired an assistant, Marcus said I was getting too big for my britches. When I traveled for work, Dad said I was losing touch with my roots. And when Marcus needed help, you all decided money had made me cold. I let that hang in the air. And so, you excluded me from Thanksgiving, because I wasn't really family anymore. They looked away, none denied it. Do you know what I do every Thanksgiving after dinner? I asked. I serve meals at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. I've done it 8 years. Did anyone here know that? Their silence was the answer. Do you know about the scholarships at our old high school? Or the small business loans I fund for restaurant workers? Or the homes I've helped employees buy? No, because you've never asked. You see me as money, not as me. Antoine returned with the main course, perfectly plated herb-crusted lamb. My family barely touched it. Dad asked, what do you want from us? I want you to see me, not a caricature of a greedy businesswoman. Me, and if you can't, then this will be your last dinner here. Last dinner? Mom whispered. Yes, I won't keep begging for a seat at a table where I'm not wanted. I walked to the window overlooking the dining room, where other families laughed and shared stories. Funny thing is, I bought this restaurant out of anger, to prove a point, but standing here tonight, I realized I don't want to win by shutting people out. I want a family that supports each other, no matter what. Emma's voice cracked. We're sorry, Sophia, we never meant it to go this far. I know, but it did. Now you have to decide what happens next. Think about whether you want a relationship with me, or just a grudge. I started for the door, then paused. Oh, and Marcus? You're not behind on your mortgage because you don't earn enough. You're behind because you and Sarah spend $4,000 a month on restaurants and shopping. That offer to help with a budget still stands. His jaw dropped. I smiled faintly. I'm good with numbers. It's why I'm successful. That night, I delivered 7 boxed Thanksgiving dinners from Rosewood Beastro to hospital patients who would have had nothing but cafeteria trays. Mrs. Rodriguez in room 302 lit up like a child. Mr. Kim in 315 cried. At 10 p.m. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. The dinner was beautiful. The conversation was hard. Can we try again? I typed back. Sunday. My place. I'll cook. You cook? I've learned a few things over the years. Not all of them involve money. We'll be there. 3 months later, Sunday dinners at my penthouse had become a family ritual. Marcus was fixing his finances. Emma was exploring a marketing role at Carter Hospitality. Mom and Dad had even joined me at the hospital on Christmas, serving meals to patients. And Rosewood Beastro? It thrived, 15% higher revenue under my ownership. Still true to David Chin's vision, but its greatest legacy wasn't financial. It was the place where my family finally learned that success isn't shameful. It's meant to be shared. I had bought the restaurant to prove I didn't need them. Instead, it gave me back my family. Sometimes the smartest business decisions have nothing to do with business at all. Like and subscribe.